Hey there, welcome back. We are on lesson 4 of 6 in our wonderful material, Spiritual Power Tools by Jane Elizabeth Hart. And today I wanted to add a little bit to what is being spoken to on chapter 7. In your book, it's page 33, Detoxification. And some of you may know this, but some may not. In one of Unity's founding books, which was written by Elizabeth Cady, is Lessons in Truth. And in chapter 6 of her original book, the original printing of that book included some language on chemicalization, which to me is the same as detoxification. Detoxification is letting go of that which no longer serves us. Chemicalization is the process by which that letting go takes place. So I'm using them interchangeably. And I'm using this today to assist us in understanding what you might be going through while you're going through this material, especially those of you that might be very new to Unity. And so I want to share with you. Oh, and I want to point out that in the current editions of Lessons in Truth, printed out by Unity uh, headquarters, the printing press, that this portion of this chapter has been eliminated. Uh, and interestingly enough, it was eliminated because it bothered too many people to have this process of chemicalization. And Emily Cady defines it and puts it in very clear terms. So I've never been a fan of eliminating wording from original documents. So I have one of the books that has that in there. So I'm just warning you that when and if you decide to go buy Lessons of Truth or look for it, unless it's in a publication from the 1970s or earlier, it's not going to be in there. The new versions do not have it. So I'm going to share with you what Emily Cady says about chemicalization. Did you ever put soda into sour milk, cider, or other acid fluids and witness the agitation or excited action which takes place? One of the substances neutralizes the other, and something better results from the action. This is a good illustration of what takes place sometimes in the minds and bodies of people. Suppose one has lived in wrong thought and molded his body by wrong thoughts for years, until, as you might say, he has become solidified in that wrong belief. You introduce the truth to him by strong denials and affirmations, as has been taught. The very newness of it, and because it is truth, creates the first few days new hope, new joy, and health. After a little time, a sort of mental formation or agitation takes place. One is apt to feel very nervous and seared way down in the depths of himself. If he has ever been sick, he will begin to feel those old diseases. If he's been morally bad, the old desires and habits will take possession of him with new force. If he has been holding denials and affirmations about business affairs until they have looked hopeful, and all at once they collapse and seem darker and more hopeless than ever. All the new beliefs which lifted him into a new world for a few days seems failures, and he seems the very verge of breaking up generally. What has happened? Why, simply this. There's been a clash between the old condition, which was based on falsehood, fear, and wrong ways of thinking, and the new thought or truth entering into it. The old mortal is kicking vigorously against the truth. You have a feeling of discouragement or of fear, feeling such as one would have if caught at something disreputable. Do not be frightened. That which you feel on the spiritual plane, a similar excitement and agitation to that which seems in the chemical action about the alkali and acid on the material plane, and something higher and better always results. This agitation does not always take place with everyone, but it is apt to occur with those who have been fixed and, as it were, solidified in the old beliefs. Such people break up with more resistance. Those who have not those who are not very settled in their convictions are more malleable mentally and physically, are not so apt at chemicalization. Vigorous use of denials are also more apt to produce chemicalizations than is the use of affirmations. There is always less resistance by the mortal when it is gently led into the truth than when its errors are directly and vigorously combated. Should you find yourself at any time in this state of internal excitement and agitation of old, bad condition, it needs only that you constantly affirm there is nothing to fear, absolutely nothing to fear. Perfect love reigns and all is good. Peace be still, etc. And very soon the brighter conditions will appear, and you will find yourself on a much higher plane than you have ever been before. Do not be afraid of this word or the condition. Chemicalization has many and has been for truly, there is nothing to fear in it. I hope that that helps because some of you might be going through that exact thing. And so I wanted to point out this very thing, and I want to share a couple of slides I created that might be of some value to you. And so we're talking about detoxification, and she says in this chapter, chapter 4, moving into the fourth dimension can cause some an imbalance, which occurs when our thoughts and fears collide against each other. When the body, oops, let me go back there. There we go. When the body, via the mind, is being asked to change, usually this occurs when we get a clear thought or understanding of truth principles. Denials and affirmations release these old thoughts and or patterns of behavior. And it's interestingly enough that it is at this point that some folks leave unity right at this moment because they start to feel agitation. They might even get sick, get a cold, or feel disheveled in some way, not be able to sleep, indigestion, maybe even some diarrhea and stuff. And they go, you know what? This isn't worth it. Being sick is not worth the truth. And they go back to the way they were and they move on to some other spiritual path. So I invite you now to consider that you might very well be going through this. And this might be an opportunity for you to understand that, oh, I'm detoxing, I'm chemicalizing. You're letting go of that which no longer serves you because you've picked up a new thought, a new way to do this. Meditation and journaling are two of the best ways where this stuff can come up. You get this realization. I'll share with you real quick that when I started to get into truth, I went to Unity Village to have classes. And the first time I went to Unity Village, I was there for 2 weeks. I had a runny nose, sneezing, upset stomach the entire time I was there. Just not a good time. I went to all the classes, did everything was meant for me. As soon as I got home, I was fine. Huh. Second trip, I was a little sicker, had a headache, had a really bad stomach ache, had problems eating, and pretty much stayed in bed except for the classes. And the third time I went, I almost had to be hospitalized because I was taking in so much truth that contradicted with what I had been taught, especially around the area of sin and error thinking and hell and the process of what Jesus was for. I was being taught all this new thinking that I believed. I heard it and I believed it, but my insides were rejecting it. They were forcing me to let go. And I let go by runny nose and headaches. And eventually it all passed for the good of God. So I want you to be considered these things. Do not be afraid of what the body might do. Let it happen. Be steady with you. Some of you may not experience this at all, but some of you might. Letting go of old beliefs and creating new thoughts can cause this agitation. You feel discomfortable. The agitation will pass and be replaced with love and understanding. And I want to leave you now with some discussion questions. When was the first time you realized you were experiencing detoxification or chemicalization? Doesn't have to be within unity, but you probably felt a shift. What was that first time? And if you have trouble with answering this question, do some journaling on it. was the first time that I realized a truth statement that blew me away. Like, whoa, I never thought of that kind of stuff. And if the material you're currently studying is causing some detoxification or chemicalization, what thought or pattern of belief did you have that caused that? Find out. What was it? What was that aha moment? And talk about how one's appearance can change. How does your countenance change as we discover more truths about our being and our relationship with God? Godspeed, and I'll see you next time.